Hello and welcome to another edition of GreenTV.com. Very thrilled to be going straight to Dubai. We couldn't be there this year, maybe one of these years, but we are definitely going to be hearing from some of our correspondents in the field, if you will. Joining me for this interview is my colleague, A.R. Hogan, who has been closely following the developments at COP and also is a friend of our young activist guest. A.R.?
Uh, uh, good day, and I am most pleased to be welcoming Aruba Faruque, who is an amazing young climate activist from Bangladesh. She's only 17.4 years old, and she rose to fame in Bangladesh as the youngest ever person to petition the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Ms. Sheikh Hassani, for climate goals. And she spent 6 months during the pandemic gathering signatures online and in person, including from the late climate scientist extraordinaire, Dr. Huck, who became a mentor for Ms. Faruque. And yes, so she has had extensive experience addressing the climate crisis with high school students, college students. She's been to conferences, including the uh, uh, Climate Justice Academy in Azura, Tanzania, and Africa in December 2022. And she's spoken to rallies, including remotely to one in Copenhagen, Denmark. She's met with diplomats and scientists and other activists, and she's spoken at rallies on the climate in Bangladesh. And she is in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, after a roller coaster ordeal to get the badge for attendance and to work out the financing and to get excused from high school and work out the logistics of the travel. And she is an intrepid and indefatigable activist. And we're so pleased to have her with us and sharing her insights on the climate crisis and what is going on at UN COP28 in the United Arab Emirates. So if I may start out by just asking you, what is your overall impression of the conference? How does it compare with what you expected? What is, if anything, better? What is worse? Give us some insights, please.
So far, it's about halfway through it.
Yes.
Okay, so today we finished the first week of COP. And so one of the major goals for us, the Global South activists, was to get the loss and damage fund operationalized. And at this COP on the first day, we saw an action. But before in the other COPs, we waited for like the entire COP for an action or for a big decision. But in this COP, it's the history that we have been working on this loss and damage operationalization. Yeah. But at the same time, the loss and damage fund, the developed countries have promised, that is too little. Like when we say the climate crisis, it was not created by Bangladesh, because Bangladesh contributes only 0.34% to the climate crisis, but it loses like $1 billion every year. But the US has promised like $17.5 million for all the vulnerable countries in the world. When Bangladesh alone loses $1 billion every year for the climatic events. And then that is the size of a peanut. And when the other countries like the UAE, they have promised $1 billion, like $100 million. Yeah, but Bangladesh loses a lot more than that. And this is not about Bangladesh. There are like the 58 vulnerable countries in the world that are part of the Climate Vulnerable Forum. So operationalizing the loss and damage fund in the very first day of the COP, and also like promising that they will be contributing to the climate crisis, is a promising start indeed. But at the same time, we must also remember that like for now, what we heard is like the 7% of the loss and damage fund will be given granted as loans. Okay, but in Bangladesh it doesn't work as loans, or in the global south it doesn't work as loans. Because we did not create this crisis, and we are part of the historical emissions that have occurred till now. So there is a big history behind the climate crisis, the creation of the climate crisis, because it was not created in one day. It started creating after the pre-industrial era, when Bangladesh was not even liberated. Yeah, and there is colonialism, capitalism, and there is like this imperialism that has been going on in the history with the global south. So the climate crisis is also a historical injustice, and also an injustice of between the generations, because we are the generation that hasn't created that crisis, but we are the first generation that faces the very grave impacts of this crisis. And then also with this loss and damage, like saying 100 million, 17 billion, 20 million, and all these numbers, what gets lost is the question of mitigation and also the fossil fuel phase out. So we need to discuss a lot about this also in the coming week on this fossil fuel. But the problem is, at COP 26, we had like 436 or around that number. I'm not being very exact. And then at COP27, we had a 25% raise, and it was like 636 or around that number. Okay, I'm not being exact. But today at COP27, we have like 2,500 fossil fuel lobbyists. And that is bigger than the delegation of 10 most vulnerable countries.
And
Yeah.
then, of course,
So
looking at
it's like,
place,
I sometimes feel like, yeah, so I sometimes feel like we are fighting in a ground where we are just the size of a spoon of salt or sugar in the entire Bay of Bengal or in the Pacific Ocean. Yeah. So it feels a lot like this, but we are still fighting for to get the best for our planet and get the best for our countries, the vulnerable countries, and get the best for our vulnerable people. Because I also feel that when at COP28, the climate crisis is more being seen as a political issue, not as a human rights issue or a justice issue, or also that climate justice or climate action actually means people's lives.
indeed.
Well, yes, the environmental nonprofit Kick Big Polluters Out did a painstaking analysis of those attending the COP28 and found that there were 2,456 fossil fuel lobbyists there, and there are only 316 indigenous people groups represented, just as one comparison. And as you know, the fossil fuel delegation is bigger than those of 10 of the most vulnerable nations put together. I wanted to also mention that Aruba is quite a talented writer, and she has done multiple op-ed pieces, and she also won the Gold Award for the Queen's Commonwealth climate, not climate, but Queen's Commonwealth essay competition with her essay on climate justice and adolescent activism, which she was possibly one of the first, if not the first person from her country to win that distinction. And so she is definitely interested in being a journalist, among other things, possibly. And anyway, so there was an anti-fossil fuel protest on Tuesday. It's not exactly a free expression country, but there was a small protest there, and I think you had a chance to be part of that, Aruba.
Yeah, so I joined a fossil fuel protest against fossil fuel protest yesterday. Yeah, so as the COP is going on, the numbers of COP is increasing. I feel that the space for civil society and activists to express their thoughts, to protest, for demonstration, even peaceful protests and demonstrations, they're not being, that space is shrinking. like at COP26, the protests, I didn't go there, but I surely followed. But the protests there were like so big, so big, so participatory, and so active. Like the more like what happened inside the COP was uh, is like smaller considering what happened outside the COP. But now here at COP27, the protests were not allowed. The media was not, and even some activists were arrested. And but some young people also continue. But in Dubai, it's like more worse situation. There's no space for the civil society to even speak. Like if we just go on a protest, but there is still happening. But they're with like 10 people, 20 people, 50 people. But in the Glasgow at COP26, there are like thousands of people in the streets, and here like we're not even allowed to speak much boldly. So the space for the civil society to act, the space for civil society to express their opinions is like it's not available in Dubai right now.
And what about
There is no space.
the space allocated for protests? I understand last year in Sharm el Sheikh,
It,
it was pretty far from where the media was and where the main action was taking place. Is that the
okay,
case?
so there are like some action zones here, but at the same time, you just need to have like permission from the authorities, and it's rare that they give permission. And if even if they give permissions, they were just like you can't do this, you can't do that, you have to promise us that you have to sign this paper and all this. But why should we be silent? Like if we do this fossil fuel protest, you can't talk about it, you can't mention this in your protest, you can't use that word. So and then they really give permissions like we were. Yeah, so that's a problem.
And was it a problem in your mind? What was made big news in the beginning when the COP28 president was, I guess, was a video leaked saying that he told former Republic of Ireland President Mary Robinson that, quote, there's no science behind the push to phase out fossil fuels. That really made the mainstream news even. Most of the networks at least mentioned it. Was that a ripple there, or was that more of like an earthquake? Because pretty damning. There's some question about whether it was taken out of
Yeah.
context, but yeah.
Yeah, that is not at all like a good statement. Yeah, because like hundreds years before now there was a report published. I just only remember the newspaper, but I just read about it a lot, and where it says that where it says that scientists say that fossil fuels, especially coal, oil, and gas usage will create the climate change in the coming decade, in the coming years, and it will lead to human and animal extinction. Yeah, so that means that the issue of fossil fuels, it was proved hundreds of years ago by the scientists, so it is no need to reprove it. So I would suggest him to read science more carefully.
Mhm. It was funny that Al Gore, the former vice president, said that nobody should ever try to mansplain to Mary Robinson. And I've kind of seen Gore as a mansplainer or people-splainer in a good way, partly. All his slideshows and his two movies, Inconvenient Truth, did wake up a lot of people to smell the carbon, but he also can be a bit of a I won't say bore. He can drone on. I've been trained by him. Went many times to Nashville, and can go on and on. So I just thought that was kind of a funny choice of words. AR?
Yes. Well, in 2023, there is a record level, record high level of fossil fuel usage and emissions in the world. So we're on exactly the wrong course in terms of approving
Yeah.
more and more drilling. The United States is approving more and more drilling, and the United Kingdom is approving more and more drilling. Other countries are approving more and more drilling. Now even Venezuela is trying to expand its fossil fuels industry doing exactly the opposite of what we need to do. They seem to be completely ignoring the eloquent pleas from young activists such as yourself and your role model, ace climate champion and ethical vegan, Greta Thunberg. You've actually been called the Greta Thunberg of Bangladesh. And yeah, so why do you think there's this reckless, oblivious, just pushing ahead on fossil fuels from so many places, and how can we get pro environment, pro climate leaders elected and empowered?
Okay, so I think the main reason behind this hypocrisy on fossil fuels is like greed, because we are thinking so much about this eternal economic growth, that we are not just focusing on who will be there to have the money, to live on that money, because in the end it's like you can't drink oil, or you can't eat coal, or you can't breathe in that polluted air. We in the end we all need clean water, clean air, and good food. So so I think it's the greed for this temporary eternal economic growth, and this tendency, and this thinking that I want the highest GDP in the world. And there is also like imperialism, like like I want to be the most powerful, and when it's like fossil fuels, they just take it up from the ground and don't need to invest in it much. Yeah, they just get it from nature.
Aruba,
Like, yeah, and so so there is like they get it, and they're just thinking that, oh, we have this on the earth and we have to use it. We can't
what,
waste any chance of being the wealthiest.
and
We
what could
can't
possibly go
ruin
wrong?
the chance to be the powerful. So there is a tendency on that. So we really need to focus bring leaders to the global climate discourse, who would prioritize the planet, prioritize the future, and prioritize people first. Yeah. um but it is also once again difficult, as these spaces for civil society, as these space for climate and environmental is shrinking day by day in the global arena, such as COP28,
So,
as and also like COP27.
Aruba, just wanted to ask you, what would success look like for you? What would make you feel satisfied when you return home? What would you like to see happen in the next few days while you're still there?
Okay, so first of all, I want to see this fossil fuel phase out. I want to see that leaders would, keep the track going on to 1.5. We already have 1.2. That means we just need to get to 1.5, and we need this fossil fuel phase out, and we can't bear any more excuses. We need the operation and full Okay, this is a difficult word. We need the loss and damage fund fully working, and as well as the promises millions. We need this number to get to hundreds of billions, because that is the real number that the global south needs to be compensated, and this must not be given as loans. This should be given as reparation, compensation, and as well as when we go forward to the loss and damage fund, we must also emphasize human rights, because the last transitional committee on loss and damage, they just announced that they wouldn't be having human rights. But without human rights, you can't just focus on give away loss and damage. Without human rights, there is no climate action.
I,
Um, uh,
I hope you've learned
yeah,
that.
and then we also need finance for adaptation, um, and as well as the full of the green climate fund. They need to deliver the, but I think we need to there the 100 billion, because when the 100 billions were there, it might have been possible to go with 100 billions. Now this is 2023. 2023, ending the next year 2024, and we just need 100 trillions right now. In this current perspective, with the loss and damage, infrastructure falling off again and again, and there is like economic loss and damages that you can consider at the rate. Because we have a youth delegate from Bangladesh who lost his father in cyclone in 2000. You can just refund, with
It sounds like our connection is getting a little bit weak, so I just want to wrap this up in the next few minutes. So I didn't mean to interrupt, though, Aruba and A.R. I'm sure you probably have a last question or comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention also that among Aruba's accomplishments, that she was named the Adolescent Ambassador for Climate and Health in the Bangladesh Ministry of Family Health and Welfare in October 2022. And she's also Deputy National Coordinator of the YouthNet for Climate Justice, which is a major environmental organization in Bangladesh. And the Swedish embassy sort of came to the rescue to help Aruba get to COP28, and they certainly deserve much appreciation for doing that. You've had a chance to meet with some of the young climate leaders, like Vanessa Nakate of Fridays for Future Uganda, and I may be mispronouncing this, Lucy Priya Gangojan of India. I apologize for the mangled pronunciation. They're well-known young climate activists, and hopefully you can be networking together on this number one climate crisis issue. The main areas that you've been focused on are South Asia, health, and youth. So can you tell us a little bit about how you've been on multiple panels and workshops at the COP28, and also I'm kind of curious, what have you experienced in terms of getting vegan food at the COP, because they have been, for the previous 27 COPs, quite negligent in providing a vegan food, and they finally promised to serve, quote, mostly vegan, unquote, food at the COP28. So if you can maybe address those two issues, please.
Okay, so about this vegan food. So it's pretty interesting because we don't eat at the COP venue actually. We have this free breakfast in the morning in our hotels, so we just eat the breakfast at 8 or at 7, depending on our schedules, and then we just have dinner. So we don't eat inside the venue, because it's like, there is vegan food available and there's like all types of food available, but it's just the expenditure for what we need for the food is like it's like unaffordable for us, and it's also like too expensive, and also the venue is like, it's too big, and you just need to walk like 2 kilometers to find a good 2-3 kilometers to find a good food, and we don't have lunch breaks at COP, so it's hard to find it. So we are just going with, like, we take food from the supermarket sometimes, or just get something from the breakfast hall that stays fresh for the day long, like apples and like bananas and all that, so that we don't miss our engagements, and we can also have something vegan.
I have a last question, if I may, because we could go on, but we need to get some sleep so you can be ready for the next day. Just take a moment to tell people who may not be that familiar with Bangladesh's location, the geography, the topography, and what about your country is unique in terms of some of the problems with flooding and cyclones because of your low-lying, location.
So Bangladesh is in South Asia, and it is the 7th most vulnerable country to the climate crisis. And so it gained independence from the Indian from Pakistan in 1971. Like in 1947, we got independent from the from the British colonialism and got parted as in Pakistan, and then we finally got liberated at 1971 as Bangladesh. So Bangladesh suffers from a lot impact on colonialism because it was very rich with its resources, with its trade and everything. But during the colonialism, there is a lot of extraction of our wealth, and then they transferred it to the United Kingdom. When the Queen Elizabeth II died, it was revealed that the crown she used to wear was made of Kohinoor diamond, which is found in India, which she got from India. So that is like it. So, and then there is like a lot of like slavery that happened during the time, and that is how like our people, they didn't get this chance, much of a chance to to see the world as liberated, as free people. But that is happening now. We are trying to develop a lot, and we have developed a lot in the last 53 years of since our independence. But the climate crisis, because of the climate crisis, we are losing like 3 to 9% of our GDP per year due to these climatic events. And there is also the loss of labor because people are getting sick. There are like more extreme events, heat waves, and everything else, and health issues that people are going through. There are like social issues like child marriage, child labor, and then there is like health issues uh, like uh, the reproductive diseases, and among women the child mortality and maternal mortality that is increasing due to the climate crisis. And there's like economic problems, like people are like losing their jobs, and there's like crop failure, there's food system problems, of crop failure, and then not having enough food, and then people can't buy enough food for the increase of prices in the food market. So that's a very comprehensive, worst crisis that we are going through. Like it affects us in every way that it can. And then,
It's a
yeah.
lot.
So we are just fighting for a better future. And when in Bangladesh we are fighting for climate justice, we are not fighting for. We feel that saving the planet, saving the earth, or saving the world is far away, because it means saving ourselves for us. Like last 2 months ago, there was a huge flooding in the hill tracks, Bandarban, Kagraturi, in the hill tracks. And then what happened is like 50 people died, and their dead bodies were in the river Changu, flooding, flowing through that. So I just think that maybe I could be one of them. There is no guarantee. um yeah, so it's like saving ourselves.
Yeah.
I know that you have personally overcome some obstacles like severe bullying and some health challenges, and yet you really keep your spirits up, and you are just so determined and such an inspiration for anybody who knows you. So I guess one last question: have you seen much greenwashing at this COP28? Is there a lot of palavers, talk about doing green this or green that, but doesn't really mean much? It's kind of superficial,
Okay,
shallow.
so it's like greenwashing is everywhere. It's like we have like banners and banners and banners and banners in the COP venue that says like that says all this like fossil fuels, that says all this of like action, immediate action. But no, it doesn't happen in that way. So it's like the COPs are always greenwashing, and there are always like greenwashing people in the COPs, especially this year when the president itself is a greenwashing person. And there are like 205,000 people, so every 30 person among us is a greenwasher, fossil fuel, evil lobbyist.
Okay, so I want to end on a positive note. I like to remember to try to ask our guests, what can our viewers do if they're concerned? Does it help if we buy things that were made in Bangladesh, or is that just more stuff we don't need necessarily? Nothing against Bangladesh products.
Okay, so I'd be very much so my my suggestion to the viewers who are activists is like to continue advocating for the climate justice, because sometimes it's like the global south is not as much as represented, or they do not have much opportunities to make them their voice heard. And there are like 2,500 people at COP28. The more of us, the more of people, young people or older people like us who are at COP, it makes us a delegation. It makes us a good team to stand against them, a united team to stand against them. And as well as personally, I would advise you to go vegan, stop buying things that you don't need, like low consumption, and then like lessen the use of plastic, and then also to teach about climate action and climate justice, and also to how to live without a carbon footprint to your colleagues, to your children, and to everyone.
Aruba, thank you so much for all you do and for being such a great solutionary, such a young person at 17 to have the knowledge and the passion and the articulateness that you have. It's very impressive, and we're very grateful to you.
Thank you so much, Aruba.
And thank you, A.R., for introducing
most welcome, and hope to keep in touch and collaborate.
Absolutely. Maybe we'll follow up after COP finishes, but good luck to you, and keep doing what you're doing loudly and often.
Yeah,
great to hear your voice.
Thank you so much.
And meet you. Take care.